Hi guys, it's Carol from Cape Cod Cottage Garden. Today I'm really excited because I've decided this year to do a soil test on my raised garden beds. I learned about this particular soil test from my friend Steffi at Grown in New England. I'll link her YouTube channel below. She's a wealth of information. So I decided to go ahead and do it. So I ordered this from Amazon. I'm not sponsored or anything, but I did get 6 tests. So I'm going to do at least 4 or 5 of my beds. They weren't very inexpensive. I mean, I think I'll have to put down on the bottom how much the test kits were each. I want to say they were like $20 or $25 each, but I think it's well worth it, especially if you have a bed that's underperforming, to figure out what the heck's going on with the soil. So I'm going to go ahead and do this today. I think it's a fairly simple process. So why don't you come along while I do that and show you how simple it is. Hopefully it's simple. We'll see. Okay, so I'm out here in my raised garden bed, and I'm just going to show you how easy it is to do. Each kit comes with a little registration number. It's right there, this little barcode, and you have to register online the number of the kit you're using. What I'm going to do to make it just a little simpler for me is I have these baggies, and I'm going to collect the soil in these baggies. I'll write with the Sharpie the registration number on here so I can keep them organized and don't get them confused. And also the garden bed where I got the soil. So for this first bed, I'm gonna call this bed number 1. This was my problem bed. This was the bed that did not thrive at all. So I'm gonna call this garden bed number 1. Just gonna write it on my plastic bag. I'm gonna write the registration number on the bag also. So when I go inside to register these before I mail them in, I won't mix them up. So let me just write that down. 177258. Okay. So inside the kit, it does come with a mailer so you can mail the little sample back. And then it comes with this little container with the water in it. This is what you're going to put the soil into. This is the scoop. And this is the scoop you use to send your soil in. You want to get a good overall sample from your bed. So what I'm going to do, and what it does recommend, is to take either a soil testing or just a trowel, and you dig down, try to get down at least 6 inches, and take a sample from multiple places in the bed. Put them in your bag or any kind of container. They say you can use the little box if you want. Mix it up and use your scoop to get a sample of the mixed soil. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Let's see, I'm gonna start right here, right in the middle of the bed. So it's pretty chilly when the sun isn't in, so I went in and got my coat. So I'm just gonna scrape away the leaf mulch. I'm gonna dig down, that's about 6 inches. And just take a little sample. I'm gonna do that in 4 to 5 or 6 more spots along this bed, and then I will scoop out my sample from what I have in here. Let me just go ahead and do that. So like I mentioned before, this bed is 20 feet long. So I went ahead and took 5 scoopfuls. So I just put it in this bag. I'm gonna mix it all together, just so we get a pretty fair sample of what the soil actually is. Just gonna mix it all together. Very scientific. So now I'm just going to take a scoop of this and place it in the container with the water. Okay, so I took out the scoop. I mean, the only way you can mess it up is if you actually spill all the fluid out of here. So let me just break the seal. It's kind of hard to open, to be honest. Okay, so you want to leave the fluid and that little nutrient ball in there. Put it back in place. I mix this up well. I'm going to take a scoop, a level scoop. It says it should be free of big debris or any large plant material. A little bit is okay. There we go. I'm just going to cover it back up. Make sure it's secure. And then I'm going to put it in this little package and send it off. But before I do that, I have to register the number. So I'm going to keep all of this together so I don't mix it up. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the beds that I want to test, and I will share the results for you when I get them. So stay tuned for that. So once you get your results, you'll sign in and you'll get to this area called My Dashboard, or you click over here to Dashboard. And this will show the 3 different beds I did, how I labeled them. Raised bed 1 is the 20 by 20. That's the first bed we did. 2 is where I plant my onions and my carrots. And 5 is where I plant mostly my peppers and some green beans. So let's look at raised bed 1, because that was the one I was most concerned with because nothing really thrived in that bed. So I'm going to click on raised bed 1. And over on this side, you'll see it gives you a graph of your macronutrients and your micronutrients. And right here, you can see, this is my nitrogen. You can see that it is low just from the graph. And then when you look at the raw soil data over here, it will say that my nitrogen is low. Normal is 32 to 60, and mine is 1.73. So obviously, I have to add nitrogen to my soil. The phosphorus is pretty good. It's right on the line, so I'm going to leave that alone. And the potassium is also within optimal range, and you can see that also referenced here. Optimal, optimal. So if I went ahead, so the other thing they do is they give you, they recommend a fertilizer to use. So you can click on this, and it will bring you right to the page to buy this particular fertilizer. But you can buy any fertilizer that has the 1200. So obviously I need the nitrogen, I don't need the phosphorus, and I don't need the potassium. That's why it's 1200. So normally I would just go dump a bag of all-purpose fertilizer on here, and then my potassium and my phosphorus, my potassium would probably be above the normal range. It's very, very difficult to lower something, to take something away from the soil than to add it. So all these years of people just throwing fertilizer on their soils, they're actually throwing the balance off quite a bit. So let's go back and look at the other beds. Excuse me. Let's look at bed 2. This is where I keep my onions and my carrots. Let's look at that. Now look at this. So this bed, my onions and carrots, what I did last fall is that I added some black cow compost to the top in the fall. And look at what it did to my phosphorus and my potassium. It's above optimal right now. So I thought I was doing a good thing, but maybe not, because it's very hard to lower these values. It's very hard to take things out of the soil. It's very easy to add things. So obviously on this one, I'm not going to add an all-purpose fertilizer and send the shooting up even higher. I'm just going to add nitrogen. So you can see my nitrogen's low. It shows it over here. It's 1.96. It's supposed to be 32 to 60. My phosphorus and my potassium are high. My phosphorus is 21. It's just a little bit high. Normal is 8 to 20. And my potassium is 89, and normal is 38 to 80. So it's not super high. So if I don't add any phosphorus and potassium this year, by next year, these should go back into normal limits. So that's why I think these soil tests are super important. So let's go ahead and we'll look at the last bed anyways. What was the one we didn't look at? Raised bed 5. This is the one where I grow my peppers and my green beans. And as you can see, it's not as bad. The nitrogen is low, and these are within normal. So again, I'm just going to add nitrogen to this bed. So I found that very interesting, the soil test. I would have never known that just adding fertilizer, bagged fertilizer every year could raise your phosphorus and potassium to an unbalanced level. So I'm really happy I did the soil test. So now I'm not going to waste my money on nutrients I don't need in the soil. So overall, I think it was a very good idea to do the soil test, even though I did not want to initially spend the money on the test. Do I think I need to buy 6 tests like I did this year? No, because most of my beds were very similar, aside from the onion bed, which I had amended, so that makes sense. So I would probably just do 1 or 2, but I think this is something I'm going to do every year. I certainly don't want to throw my soil off balance, and I want to set myself up for success. I spend a lot of time and energy with all these seedlings. I want them to have the best start they can and make sure my soil is properly amended. So my hope for this video is just to share what I learned about soil testing and how important it really is. It might just give you that little nudge to push you over the edge and give it a try like I did. And if you're liking the content, if you found this video valuable and you learned something from it, I'd appreciate if you could give me a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, you can leave it in the comments below. And until the next time, get out there and grow. Bye-bye.